Basil at Baker Street, my good fellow.
In the middle of Disney's darkest days, there would be a detective mouse who would restore faith in his studio who began to have none. It was because of several flopped movies that CEO Michael Eisner was faced with the decision to shut the animated studio down for good. But Roy E. Disney, Walt Disney's nephew, had different thoughts as he insisted Eisner to give the studio another shot. As the once very successful studio was about to call it quits, and The Great Mouse Detective was the studio's last hope. And if it failed, Disney would more than likely close their doors forever. There would be no future classics that came after. It all rested on the shoulders of this sleuth mouse. The Great Mouse Detective was a success, making over $38 million at the box office. This would save them from financial ruin and would put faith in the new animators that they can make something great. Looking at the juggernaut that Disney is today, it's hard to believe that the studio was ever in this position. But it was, and everything that has come after owes a great debt to this detective mouse, Basil of Baker Street.
Thank you, Dawson. Smile, everyone.
Basil was named after Basil Rathbone, a South African-born actor who portrayed Sherlock Holmes several times.
Was the owner of a dog.
How can you tell that?
Quite simple. From the teeth marks. Look, you can see for yourself. A rather large dog, I'd say.
As I look at the little models that we made of Basil, I don't know whether I'm going to look like the model or he's going to look like me.
Is our friend's entrance. Basil, how could he fit through such a tiny... Observe, Doctor. Basil, you astound me.
Basil was a private consulting detective and is the Sherlock Holmes of the mouse world. He even shares a pet with Sherlock Holmes himself, the Basset Hound, Toby, the world's greatest detective nose.
Dawson, Toby. Charmed, I'm sure.
Basil is a jack of all trades at several points in the movie, showing skills in such areas as science, history, and a master of disguise, and even showing the trusty Dr. Dawson a thing or two. Basil can also be quite self-centered, ignoring Olivia and Dawson consistently at the beginning of the movie, and doesn't seem interested in taking the case until he realizes Olivia's case might be the solution to finally capturing Ratigan.
See here, I simply have no time for lost fathers.
I didn't lose him. He was taken.
The horror of my every waking moment, the nefarious Professor Ratigan.
That being said, he can also be very caring and empathetic.
Dawson? Dawson? Don't worry, old fellow. It's not entirely hopeless.
Basil would appear in books, video games, and even on Darkwing Duck as the little statue that opened the secret passage to Darkwing's hidden base. So you might say Darkwing Duck was obviously a fan of this detective mouse. And I don't know why, but that just makes me happy.
Makes sense to me. Punch it!
I would also like to point out that Basil's and Dawson's relationship is something you root for the entire film. You want these two together, solving mysteries for a long time to come. And the film does not disappoint, leaving you happy these two will do just that.
Allow me to introduce my trusted associate, Dr. Dawson, with whom I do all my cases. Yes, by all means.
The Great Mouse Detective is my all-time favorite Disney film. I love the Sherlock Holmes mystery part of it, and its dark and gritty atmosphere fit very well with this story based in London in the 1800s. And it still has some of the more mature moments in the film that Disney would turn away from almost completely after this movie, going back to its more lighthearted fairy tale formula in The Little Mermaid.
These drinks have been drugged.
There's a rather nice pipe to it.
But I enjoy the darker, more mature tone of a movie like this. The Great Mouse Detective feels like it could easily fit into the Don Bluth catalog at that time.
I've never known a cockroach with good taste, but I've known plenty that taste.
Basil of Baker Street is one of my all-time favorite Disney characters. Only Merlin from The Sword and the Stone could even compete with him for my favorite Disney character spot.
Dark age indeed. Age of inconvenience.
I will forever celebrate this detective mouse. The mouse who pulled the once most successful animated studio in the world out of its darkest days. So give it up for Basil of Baker Street, the world's greatest detective mouse.